Hello, everybody. Welcome to the theater stage here. Now we are getting ready to give it up for Patrick Hill, Executive Director at Cultivated Mindset, and he'll be talking to us today about designing for impact. So, standing ovation, give it up for Patrick.
Hello, how are you? As she said, my name is Patrick Hill, and as you can probably tell, I come a long way. I'm originally from a small town in Jacksonville, North Carolina, but I live in Charlotte, North Carolina now, which is actually the home of the U.S. headquarters of Umbraco. So today we're going to be talking about designing for impact. So we're going to be talking about very simple concepts in UX UI and how does that work in the nonprofit space. So my agency is called a Cultivated Mindset, and about 40%, 30 to 40% of our customers or clients are actually nonprofit. Nonprofit is actually, and Umbraco is very, very huge in the nonprofit space in the US. A lot of schools, religious organizations, endowments actually use Umbraco as their preferred CMS. But they have challenges because, as you probably know, in the US, everything's a competition. All right. So, and for you cybersecurity guys out here, my laptop said, "You've been away too long." And now it doesn't like me. Oh, caps lock. What in the world? There we go. All right. So, as I always say, a great web application is the most important ambassador for your company. I said that. I made that up. So, you can quote me. You can have that one. So, I want to give everybody a small fun fact. If anyone can guess my age, I will send them a package in the mail. And we're only going to pick two people, and not two people I've already told this answer to. So if you can guess my age, I will send you a care package to anywhere in the world. All right? Who wants to get the first guess? 36. Close, but no cigar. Anyone else? One more try. No one else. Okay. 35. I wish. Okay? I'm actually 40 years old. Okay? And a lot of people in the dance party and the conference did not believe that I was 40 years old because I still, for some odd reason, God is keeping me looking like a child. All right? But I've been around the block. I have years of experience. I have a master's degree in information technology from the great school of UNC Charlotte. I used to work for Bank of America, AKA the evil empire. We kind of embraced that in the banking culture. And one day I decided to quit and start my own firm, and I called it a Cultivated Mindset. And that is because I used to build WordPress sites in my college dorm, and I went over the minimum for the great Uncle Sam's tax code. And my mom said, hey, you gotta stop building these websites or you gotta start a company. Pick one. Well, clearly I wasn't gonna stop building websites, guys. I love that. So I had a shirt that said, I have a cultivated mindset. And I was like, call it P. Hill Consulting or something. She was like, no, you don't wanna do that. Let's call it a cultivated mindset. And ever since then, it's been a cultivated mindset. Yes, it's very long, My email address is very long. It's patrick@acultivatedmindset.com. So we haven't changed it for that one reason, because it's a cool story, and I like it. So let's talk about the importance of UX UI in nonprofits, and then we're going to talk about Umbraco's role in UX UI. So there are really three things in all UX UI, and that's engagement, trust, and conversions. You have to be engaging, you have to be trustworthy, and you have to convert. They have to contact you. They come to your website for something, whether it's more information, to transact some business, or to do something. So that is what we call the conversion. So where I'm from, most in the U.S. we charge for everything. So where I live, we pay for water. So we actually have a water bill that has to be paid. But there is no competition for the water department, because who else you're going to get water from? So their website is terrible. I mean, completely terrible. And for those who live in Charlotte, know that paying a utility bill is very hard to do on your phone and very hard to do on the websites, because the water department has no competition. It's not like your cell phone service or your streaming network where there's competition, so therefore their user experience has to have a certain level of branding and marketing. Same thing for nonprofits. Nonprofits necessarily don't have that level of expertise, nor do they think they have competition when it comes to donations, endowments, and those sorts of things. So they fall far from the engagement, and sometimes they fall off the trust meter as well, but they all want conversion. So how can Umbraco help with that? For one, we already know that it's very flexible, it is user-friendly, and it is scalable. The best thing about Umbraco is it is an open box, but it also is an open box. So therefore, when most people use it, they don't have what they need to have that level of user experience and user interaction. So there are some very unique challenges. There's limited resources. It's a diverse audience. For one, like I said, 40% of our clients are nonprofits, and it goes across the spectrum, from social good to colleges, endowment centers, so on and so forth. So therefore, each and every interaction and experience is very difficult. Sometimes it's donations, sometimes it's just research, information, and annual reporting that needs to happen. And they also are very mission-driven. Every nonprofit is very mission-driven. They do have some sort of storytelling that needs to happen in order for that conversion to happen. So based on that challenge, there's a lot of diversity. Sometimes you have volunteers, beneficiaries, and even stakeholders. So how do you talk to each of them at the same time in only a matter of 2 minutes on the same webpage? So you have to have a clear message, a story, and of course a call to action. So here's an actual Umbraco site that we developed for the Center for the Future of Arizona. It is a nonprofit. All they do is really gather information for different universities to make sure that they have the right connection between who needs a scholarship and who doesn't need a scholarship. And before we met them, they were really all over the place. Their page wasn't really structured. It was structured more from a too much glitter, not enough glam, if that makes any sense, but just way too much going on. So we really simplified it, tried to build that emotional connection. As you can see, well, if you've ever been to Arizona, it's very hot and dry, and everything is orange and red. Literally, everything is orange and red in Arizona. So we try to make that connection so that when donors come there, they actually know where they are. So they trust where they are, what they're doing, and can they feel reliable to give or partner with this organization. So it does two very good things: emotional connection and visual narratives. And as you can see that our website, the actual view on the desktop has a stagnant page, while the actual mobile view, it's a different image, but it's scrolling across it. We did that with some simple JavaScript. So it does both at the same time. So those key principles, once again, user-centric design, making sure that the personas actually relate to the actual brand of who you're actually targeting. And in a nonprofit space, the number one target is donations, donors, from donors, and volunteers. Another key principle is accessibility and inclusion. There's actually a standard for that. It's a WCAG. There is actually a new plugin in Umbraco that helps with that to make sure that the web flow and is very accessible for people who have either hearing disabilities or vision disabilities. And you definitely want to make sure it's responsive. Of course, everybody wants a mobile website, but you'll be surprised of how many people don't, especially in the nonprofit sector. Brand consistency, navigation, and make sure the content is clear. There are actually new job titles called UX content. So the experience and the journey that you read on the website actually follows along with the brand, the voice. And those can be kind of challenging for nonprofits and to get their mission statement out. So best practices. You want to use white space effectively, and you definitely want to introduce grid systems out of the box. You want to use those so that when you do have responsive design, everything fits nice and neatly, and then try to establish some sort of hierarchy so you can have a clear vision and grab the user's attention. And last but not least, engaging visuals. These could be kind of hard for a developer. As being a developer myself, everything's in black and white, and does the button work? We really don't kind of go out of that mind frame, but the marketing department can help you. And try to use a little bit of icons and a little bit of graphics. So what do I mean by that? So this is actually another one of our clients called Helios. They're an education foundation, and we try to keep it very simple, minimalistic, but straight to the point, and the call to actions are on every single page, because unlike other organizations, their call to action is their data. They receive grants, and they have a huge endowment fund, so they don't actually need donors, but the problem is they have mounds of data, and a lot of people don't know how to find it, and we want to make sure that people are being spotlighted from the website, and actually their users find their data. They actually have a very, very cool looking building, so we definitely highlighted that on the very front page, made it very wide, so people understood that this is not your average boring nonprofit. They're actually doing good in the community. When I first got this client, I actually read their annual report. They're somewhere in the 150 million of donation to scholarships from everywhere from Florida all the way to Washington. So they're actually doing really good, and I never even heard about them. And I saw their old website, and based on their old website, I would have never known they'd done that. Never would have known that they are that impactful in the community. So, of course, we used Umbraco. We definitely used white space from what we like to call below the fold. Does anyone know where below the fold came from? If anyone heard of below the fold? Yes. Does anyone know where it came from?
Newspaper.
That's right, newspapers. So anything below the fold, you had to flip the newspaper over to read, which means it was important, but it wasn't the most important thing. So in web and UX design, below the fold rhymes with below the scroll. So you have to scroll to get to the second layer of information. So the first layer is you jump right at them. What we do together in the next 5 years, no, you security. So what we do in the next 5 years will impact student outcomes for the next 25. Boom. You know what they're mission driven. You know what they want to do. They clearly want to help students right now so they can grow into an adult that we all want them to be, a functioning body in society. So you know immediately what their mission is and what they want to do, and it's nice, bright. It's on the background of their beautiful building. As soon as you scroll, what do they have? A student holding a check. I don't know how many of you guys were in college, but checks helped me out in college. They just helped me get to wherever I were going. So they tell you what their mission is, they highlight that mission, and they're showing and proving what they're doing in the very next below the fold, or I like to call now below the scroll. Students graduating, students studying, and for some odd reason, an empty classroom. Clearly, she got the check and she didn't go back to class. And you have two versions of that. All right, so moving on, accessibility matters. And I want to talk just a little bit about why accessibility matters. A lot of nonprofits do talk or reach to underrepresented groups. That's the main reason why a lot of nonprofits exist. So we want to make sure that I talked about it a little bit in a few slides, but we definitely want to make sure that everyone is included and has a feel of inclusivity when visiting the website. Other people do it for legal compliance. The evil empire was very big on legal compliance. They did not want to get sued by anyone. And then you definitely just want a broad reach. The more people, the more experience you have, you get to increase your message and get your voice out there. So you just want to make sure you touch everybody. So there's actually a lot, there's a few new accessibility tools in Umbraco. There's a couple new templates, and of course, content editors. We want to make sure that we are building and using the content editors for every section in Umbraco on the front page or in all pages. A lot of the nonprofit clients that we have, we've gotten them from other agencies, and every time we go in there, the page is just pure HTML and pure CSS, which is great for folks like me, but it's a very hard jump for the actual marketing department or the fundraising department. So we want to make sure that every content edit block is developed for every single section of the page. It just helps them develop and get the content in there faster. Definitely use alt text, keyboard navigations, contrast ratios, and then semantic HTML. All right, so there's some different strategies when it comes to design. User testing, of course, and feedback, not just making sure the button works. That's kind of where my job ends. I click it, it works. We actually have a UX UI designer on our team who kind of continuously goes through regular tests and make sure that everything is there. And then taking that feedback and actually implementing the feedback and going forward from there. So prototyping is important as well as part of the actual process. I like Figma. I use Figma. I have nothing against XD, but we use Figma, and that's what we use for our prototyping. It allows us to do agile development and kind of keep that A/B testing going forward. We kind of send that out. Hey, which one do you like better? Which one's easier? We have a saying in our agency that every user is a third grader. If a third grader cannot navigate your website, then you've done something wrong. And that is very true in the US. I would say about 65% of the population are third graders, no matter what age they are. So we are accustomed to very, very quick scrolls. We're accustomed to very, very quick content. So if everyone has the mindset that their user is a third grader, they'll actually develop experiences that everyone can use and improve on that with analytics and regular updates. So once again, I recommend Figma. There's nothing against Adobe XD. You definitely want to use the SEO checker in Umbraco to make sure that your accessibility is high enough and is reached. And then there's a theme package of, I'm pretty sure everyone's heard in here, called Uskin. Has anyone not heard of Uskin? That's a good answer. Uskin is probably the best theming product that we have in the Umbraco community. So please use it because it'll get you started in the UX UI piece. All right, future trends. So this is also, this is actually not a nonprofit client. This is actually a streaming client that we have. They actually own a streaming platform that's built in Umbraco. And so we're talking about the future trends of the UX UI. And emerging trends are definitely minimalistic, dark mode, and micro interactions. So micro interactions can be anything from a AI chatbot that's just interacting with the user on any page, to just subtle rollovers and hovers, and don't be afraid to use animations, fade in, fade out. You know, simple things that grabs attention, but not only grabs attention, but it keeps the attention on your message and within your website. Another trend in UX, mainly the experience, of course, is AI and personalization. It's going to get to a point where not only you know what website you're visiting, the website knows you. So I don't know if everyone has caught on to the email game, but 9 times out of 10, if you receive an email from a retail brand, they will try to match that picture with someone that is within your tribe or within your community. They are now starting to personalize your experience on web pages. There will be some point in time when you visit a web page and you may only see people like you on the web page. I don't think that's a great thing, but that is where AI is trending in UX UI. I do think we should see a rainbow of people, you know. I don't live in a world of one color. Predictive analytics, so where things are going, where there's actually a cool tool that I use called Clarity. It's in the Microsoft stack. It actually comes with a free heat map, so you know where dead clicks and rage clicks are coming from. I would tell everyone to try Microsoft Clarity at least once in your lifetime. It does integrate with Google Analytics. The good thing about Microsoft Clarity, it literally gives you clarity on where people are falling off of your website and where they're getting below that actual scroll. What is the scroll depth? They call it scroll depth. And how far are they getting far down your page, and are they going through the entire journey? And then, of course, gamification and interactive storytelling. Those are where user experience is heading. And how I can help bring that to social good, I'm going to try my best. It's just really hard to gamify some of these causes, but I'll try. And I think that's my last slide. Well, the last slide said, how can we change your experience? It didn't get there, but are there any questions, comments, concerns about UX UI in the nonprofit space, or UX UI in general? Anything? Or about me? I'm open to those questions as well. None. Wow, my presentation was that great. You received all the information so well that you had no comments or concerns. I appreciate you guys. I've come a long way to get silence. Okay, yes.
So besides for probably a lack of imagination and low budgets in the nonprofit sector,
Yes.
what would you say do you find is the organization's biggest mental blockage when it comes to their website? Like, is it that they don't recognize their ability to utilize some of these trends? Or is it just that they don't think that the website's important? Like, what do you think is the biggest barrier to getting them improved?
Their biggest mental is what you just said. They don't think that their website is important for what they do. So a lot of nonprofits are boots on the ground, even if it's education. They're in the classroom, they're teaching. So their website kind of is out of sight, out of mind. But letting them know that just because you think you don't have competition, a dollar can only go so far, and having that experience for your donors and your stakeholders. So a lot of times people donate to organizations and they rightfully would like to know how the money is being spent. That is a perfect opportunity for reporting, dashboarding, and those experiences on the web so they can continue to feel good and donate and continue to help that social cause. But you can't do that on a website because every donor can't be in every classroom. They can't be at every volunteer session. They can't just be at every fundraising. So a lot of times, as with every organization, the website literally is the ambassador to the world of what you're doing. And if that is not a great experience, then you're going to either not receive new partners or the partners that you have may fall off without that experience. So that's what you have to prove to them. And you will be shocked, especially in North America, of how many organizations in that sector use Umbraco. I don't know if it was because they got tired of every other CMS and just said, hey, let's just figure out this one. But that has been our experience. And I hope that you guys can share that experience here. And for those who are in the U.S., there are a lot of nonprofits that do need your help because of the resources. And there are a lot of nonprofits that actually, like for instance, Helios, they have a $150 million endowment. That's just as good as a $5 million car wash. So, you know, they don't have a resource problem. They just had a user experience problem. Thank you for your question. Anything else? I believe we only have 3 minutes and 14 seconds. So if you have a burning question, this timer is barking at me to answer it within 3 minutes now. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Patrick, thanks for the presentation. Hello. Thanks for the presentation. Really enjoyed the insights. We were talking before the presentation about some of the challenges in selling to a CMO as opposed to an IT executive. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could elaborate.
Yeah, so in our experiences, especially in the U.S., the biggest difference that I've learned on this trip is that the website in Europe or in other countries, the website is controlled by either CIO or someone in IT. They kind of control the website. It's kind of, they own it. And in North America, marketing owns the website. Like there's a head of marketing, there's a head of branding. They own the website, so they actually choose the platform. And to be honest, they don't necessarily make the right choice every time for that industry or that organization. So the biggest difference is in North America, you're dealing with a lot of very, very creatives, and that user experience is very key. That's all they really care about. They don't really care if you have 2 gerbils and stone tablets that are keeping this website alive. They can care less. But when they type in that domain name, they want the best experience and the best interaction that they can afford. And a lot of times in that marketing department, they do give out about 20 to 30% of their budget just to web interactions. One of our main clients, their main job is to defrost planes. That's a real job. They make about $60 million a year to defrost a plane. Very important. Don't need my plane freezing up on takeoff. But it's a very boring type of business. And they lose a lot of business because they're at trade shows and they're like, hey, check out our report on how we defrost this Boeing last week. And the person's on their mobile phone, and their fingers may be fat like mine, and they can't kind of click on the hamburger. And so that experience is really lost. So she literally carved out a $1 million budget to fix all of that. Because she kept hearing the complaints from the sales reps while they're at trade shows. So when they came to our doorstep, I had to learn about their business to give them the best user experience for their clients. And it literally was engineers. If you didn't know, engineers are very boring. They're actually more boring than talking to developers. Those guys are really boring, guys. I'm so serious. And think about an engineer who defrosts a plane, how boring he or she can get. So, on one side of their mentality is, I need to get to the information. I just really need to know how you defrost planes, what your innovation on defrosting a Boeing 765, whatever the name of the Boeing is. And their user experience was terrible. Like, their website wasn't responsive. It just didn't speak to common interactions. And when I say common interactions, we have to all realize that 90% of our day is dealing with someone who spent $1 billion on how to make us scroll, i.e. Facebook, Instagram, and all these other apps that we use on a day-to-day basis. So when we shift our minds to business and work or something that we want to do, we expect the same experience. But some companies can't afford to spend that much money in UX UI. They have some machine that they need to spend on defrosting the plane. So think about it from that way. So that's why they complain a lot about. So don't get mad at your clients about complaining about you, or your users complain about UX UI experience. It's because of their world. Their world is so bright on other apps and other websites that have that budget, and they kind of get lost when they go to other people's websites. I just love when a client comes to me and say, yeah, you ever heard of this company called Netflix? And I'm like, yeah, I want that. And I'm like, well, Netflix is $1 billion company. Do you have $1 billion? And it's like, no, my budget is $2,000. I was like, I see what I can do, but I probably can't help you, but we'll try. So, but that's the experience. That's what they live in. They spend 80% of their world in those type of experiences, and now they want that for their clients and their customers. So we have to find a middle ground and help that. So back to the question, is saying that most websites and domains live in marketing in North America, where the rest of the world, those domains are belonged by the IT, and you know just as well as I know, IT only cares about one thing. Did the button work? You can complain all you want, but did it work? Yeah, it worked. It didn't look too well, but it worked. So thank you. Have a nice day.